Thank you so much for being here with us. Tell us your name and a little bit about who you are and why you're here today.
My name's Emily Lark. I'm a healthy back expert. I work with clients and people all over the world to help them heal their back pain naturally through movement.
What caused you to be interested in this?
Actually, it was a very personal experience for me. When I was 12 years old, I was in a really severe car accident, survived some very bad injuries. And after the car accident, as the months went on, of course, I went through physical therapy. Everyone expected me to make a full recovery, but what I found was that over the years, my back pain just persisted, starting at a very young age. Even through my teen years, the back pain actually started getting worse and worse and worse. And I was like a teenager who moved and felt like an old woman with all of my back pain. When I was in my 20s, the pain became so bad that I had to spend an entire year pretty much flat on my back in my living room, laying on ice packs. I wasn't able to work that year. I was so debilitated from the pain that obviously it brought my life to a stop. And at the end of that year, during that time period, getting out of pain was like a full-time job to me. It was the only thing I could do. I went to every kind of specialist I could find, tried every kind of treatment out there, and nothing was working. At the end of that year, I was told that I needed back surgery and that was my only option. But at this time, I was only 28 years old. I didn't want to go that route because I know that oftentimes back surgery can lead to more problems down the road, and I felt like I was too young to set myself up for that.
To be that young at 28 years old and to be that physically debilitated because of your back, what did that do to you emotionally? Were you feeling hopeless, depressed, challenged? What did that feel like?
That year was by far the worst year of my life, and it wasn't just the physical pain. I became incredibly depressed because I could barely leave my house. So I was cut off from, social interactions. I started gaining weight. I was also newly married at the time, and we had been hoping to start having kids soon. But at that point, there was no way I could even think about that because I couldn't really take care of myself even. There was no way I could take care of children. So I felt incredibly hopeless. I thought that everything that I wanted from life was probably not going to happen because this pain was holding me back. And I remember feeling so scared too because I had this belief that as we get older, we're just kind of doomed to have more and more pain. So I felt like I was already starting out at such a young age with so much pain that I had such a hopeless feeling that my life was over and it was only going to get worse and worse.
So at this point in your life, you've been searching for a remedy to this immense pain. You've had surgery suggested to you, and now you were at a crossroads for what to do. What happened next?
Yeah, that was kind of like the low point that was also my breaking point. I remember at that time feeling like I had been trying so hard to find other people to fix my pain, and I had been raised to believe that that's what you do. You seek out experts and you seek out medical professionals when you have an issue like that. But I had tried everyone and nothing was working. So at that point, I was very depressed. I felt like there was really nothing that was going to help. But then I had a turning point when I had been working as a fitness instructor up until then. So I knew a lot about the human body and anatomy and movement. And I've always really believed that our bodies are just miraculous, the way they're designed, the way they operate, and the way they can heal, the way our bodies can heal themselves. So at that point, I thought, you know what? I am going to put some faith in my own body and put some trust in my own body and see if I can figure out a way to move my body in a way that it can heal itself. So I spent the next year just researching the human body and researching anatomy in a different way. Rather than doing it based on fitness or weight loss, I started doing it based on, more structural anatomy and muscular imbalance and all the cause of misalignment. And I started experimenting on my own body, kind of like my own personal test lab, trying different things and seeing what would work and what didn't. And at the end of that year, I discovered actually just a few very simple movements that very quickly made me completely pain-free.
That's intriguing. Tell me a little bit more about how that could be true.
Yeah, so I'll start with kind of where people go wrong. I think people often feel like if they have a back pain or a back issue, it is a tremendous, almost unfixable problem, or a problem that requires a lot of intervention. But what I started to find is that sometimes all you need to do is just unlock one tight muscle and then give the body a chance to kind of readjust and readapt and bring things into alignment, and the pain goes away. Or oftentimes there's an area of weakness in the body, usually with the core muscles or sometimes up in the shoulder muscles, that are causing us to stand out of balance. And just by strengthening those muscles and teaching them to engage, it brings everything back into alignment. So even when there are a lot of much more severe sounding issues at play, like let's say somebody has a bulging disc in their back, something that sounds like you cannot treat it from the outside, all we need to do really is bring the body back into balance, and then that point of pain goes away because the muscles are in alignment, everything's supported and working properly and healthy.
In the traditional medical model, we all know that back surgeries are one of the most unsuccessful surgeries there are, and often lead to more problems and more surgeries. And many specialists will look at an x-ray, identify the problematic area, and then tell you not to move it or put it under any stress. It sounds like you're suggesting almost the complete opposite as a form of recovery.
Absolutely. In fact, this all started around 1930 when a Harvard graduate doctor decided that, because back pain has always been a bit of a mystery, right? In some ways it still kind of is, but one doctor decided that he was going to label the disc as the issue for back pain. Up until then, nobody had even thought of the discs as causing back pain. It started this whole movement of, orthopedic surgeons and neurologists who started operating on the discs. There are some crazy statistics out there saying that really only 1 in 10 people who have disc surgery operations actually experience full recovery or pain relief from that. So what we're starting to find now is that the disc is not the cause of the pain. It's actually the muscular imbalances that cause the discs to move slightly out of place, but the disc typically is not the reason causing the pain. In fact, most people, when they have back pain, they'll go to the doctor and they'll get an x-ray or an MRI and they'll be told, you have degenerative disc disease. That sounds like a very daunting thing, like it's a disease, like it's an unnatural thing. Our bodies, our discs, are designed to degenerate. I mean, all the way from their dinosaur fossils showing degeneration in the discs. That's just how our bodies are made to age. It doesn't necessarily equate to pain.
How did this evolve from you doing your own research and utilizing this treatment for yourself to you helping other people with their back problems?
Yeah. So at the time, again, I was only 28. I was fairly young. And this experience for me was absolutely life-changing. It was the first time since I was 12 years old that I wasn't waking up every single day in pain. I knew that I wanted to figure out a way to share this with other people. But at the time, I also thought, well, is this just something that worked for me? Or is this just something that works on younger people? I didn't really know. And I didn't have a lot of resources at the time either. So I ended up approaching a local church in my town. They had a large room that wasn't being used during the week. And I approached them and I said, can I use this space to bring some people into to kind of start trying to teach this method? So I was unsure at the time myself. I knew I wanted to work with people, but I wasn't sure of the results that people would have yet. But I started bringing people into this space in the church and started teaching them this method that I had used on myself. And then I have to say that was actually probably the most exciting part for me, even more than when I got out of pain myself. I started seeing what this was doing for other people, and most of the people who were coming to me were 50 or above, and I started seeing them having exactly the same results that I had had, and in some cases even better, faster results. And that's when I knew that I was really onto something.
How has that evolved? Are you still working out of the church building?
I am. So I am in the church building, and it's funny because people ask me all the time, why haven't you moved into your own big facility? The church has provided a space where I'm able to work with people at a very low cost because I have very low overhead. I remember so clearly what it was like to be out of work and have medical bills piling up. And so I wanted to be able to offer this to people who were in the same situation I was. So now I actually have instructors who teach my method who work underneath me, and they run most of the classes now. Then the big evolution from that happened a few years ago. A lot of my students started coming to me and saying, Emily, I've got a sister down in Colorado or an uncle out in Florida who's in pain. Can you start making videos for them so that they can do this? And again, that was kind of another step for me. I'd never done anything like that. But I decided to create a video system so that people could share it with their friends and family. And it kind of evolved into something that ended up spreading all over the world.
I have a friend, Dr. Dan Pompa, who has this phrase that he uses, from pain to purpose. Obviously, in your work, you have moved from pain to purpose. Contrast your life now to your life at 28 years old when you had spent a year lying on your back, miserable and in pain.
It's funny the things that you can come to grow so grateful for, because at that time when I was 28, I thought it was the worst thing that had ever happened to me. I thought my life was over in a sense. And now I look back on that time and I do have so much gratitude for those days, because not only did it lead me to discover something that caused me to be able to live pain-free and functional and be able to move, but it also caused me to develop a new belief in ourselves and our own ability to heal and the possibilities that are out there that we might not even know about yet. So it changed the way I think about life and the way I think about the world, and then being able to transition into sharing that with other people. This is obviously now the thing that brings me the greatest joy, working with people to help them get out of their pain, as well as is by far the greatest purpose I found in my life. And without those kind of dark days, I never would be here.
Are there any stories of people that you've helped out that stand out in your mind or are particularly meaningful?
Yeah, actually, just last week, I received an email from a woman who lives over in England. And she's a single mother with a daughter who just started college. And she wrote me an email to say that it's always been her dream to support her daughter to go through college. But she's had so much back pain, and she's had to go to the chiropractor 2 to 3 times a week, and she's had to have all of these treatments, and they were becoming such a financial drag on her that she didn't think she'd be able to support her daughter to go to school. She started doing the program, and she now doesn't have to go to those appointments anymore. And for her, she's not just out of pain, but now she's able to support her child in the way that she thought she wasn't going to be able to. So I think when people think about pain, they think of it as just a physical issue or just a medical issue, but it affects everything in our life. It affects our relationships. It affects our output, what we're able to do in the world. And so those are the stories that stand out to me the most, not just, like, oh, I'm not in pain anymore, but this is how it's affected my life. This is how it's changed my family. Those are the ones that always stand out to me the most.
I don't want to oversimplify this, but are there some simple exercises that someone who's watching this and enduring back pain can try and see if they receive some of the benefits that you've experienced?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to give you my 3 tips for back pain that are going to sound counterintuitive, but that are the most effective that I've found. So first, anyone who's experiencing neck and shoulder pain, usually when people feel that pain in the back of their neck and shoulders, they think they need to stretch the back of their neck and the back of their shoulders. What you need to focus on instead is stretching your chest muscles. It's the chest muscles that are tight, bringing the shoulders forward and the head forward, causing the muscles in the back to tense up and react. So if you focus on stretching the shoulders back, a great way to do is just stand in a doorway with your arms like a goalpost and bring your chest forward. It's simple. You can do it any time of the day, and it has a huge effect. If you're struggling with low back pain, then the 2 things you want to focus on the most are first, core strength. And I'm not talking like crazy crunches. We don't want to focus on the outer abdominals like the 6-pack. You want to focus on engaging your inner abdominal muscles. So typically core work that has to do with moving your legs rather than crunching the upper body, but moving the legs will target those muscles. And then the hips are a big thing too. Stretching out your hip muscles while strengthening your core will cause those imbalances to resolve themselves. You'll get more support for your core. People often think when they have low back pain, they need to strengthen their low back, but you need to focus on the front of your body rather than the back.
Fascinating. So if someone is going through your program, what can they reasonably expect in terms of how much time they would put into it and outcomes they'll receive?
I've seen all different things with all different people. I've worked with some people where they'll do one stretch for 30 seconds a day and all of a sudden their sciatica is gone. People feel relief immediately just from moving and stretching those muscles. You start to feel relief immediately. To get to the point of being completely pain-free, sometimes that might take a week, it might take a month. But I try to design my program to be as simple and concise as possible. So the first routine in the program is only 10 minutes. People can do just 10 minutes a day. You do it while you're sitting in your chair, because a lot of people in pain can't get down on the floor for a lot of these moves. So the program itself is very, very simple and fast to do, but it does vary how long it's going to take people to feel that full relief.
Is there anyone that shouldn't do this? Could it cause injury for anybody?
People should always check with their doctor first to make sure that there's not another issue going on within them. People who've recently had hip surgery should not be doing some of the hip stretches in this program. Some people are told if they have a herniated disc, maybe they shouldn't do twists or bends. That's something that I have personally found that, again, I believe the more movement, the better. But everyone's issue is different. So I'm not saying that this is going to work for absolutely everybody in the world. It will help improve back health for everyone in the world, but there are always some conditions that you want to be sensitive to.
I love your message of hope, and I'd love for you to end on a message of hope for people that are watching this.
I know what it's like to lose hope and to feel like you're going to be stuck in this pain for the rest of your life. And I remember so clearly what that felt like and how that cut me off from my life. But I now know that our bodies are magnificent. And do not give up on your body. Do not give up hope on your body's ability to bounce back and to live happy and healthy and pain-free the older and older you get, because I've seen it with so many people. People in their 90s write into me telling me they've experienced this. I've experienced it with my clients. We need to let go of the myth that our bodies are doomed to get worse as we age, because believe it or not, they can actually feel better and better with every passing year.
Emily, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you so much.